There is no doubt that we live in the last days. We can just observe the events of the world, we can see what is happening in Israel, and we can also see the changes in people. When disciples of Jesus asked him what people need to look out for in the last days, how they can know it's that time, Jesus answered. And Jesus answering them began to say, "Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name saying, 'I am he,' and will deceive many. But when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be troubled, for such things must happen, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be earthquakes in various places, and there will be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows." Mark 13, verse 5 to 8. These words, spoken 2,000 years ago, are strikingly relevant in today's world. We have never had so much access to information, yet the truth has never been so difficult to discern. Notice that the first thing Jesus said was, "Be careful that no one deceives you." Why? Because Jesus knew this will be the hardest part in the last days, for Satan transformed himself into an angel of light. The main weapons the enemy is using right now are deception, chaos, and emotion. What is deception? The act of hiding the truth, especially to get an advantage. It can manifest in many forms: lies, half-truths, propaganda, scams, or even self-deception. What makes deception so dangerous is that it often masquerades as truth. The most effective lies are not those that are completely false, but those that are cloaked in just enough truth to be believable. We live in the so-called information age, where a person can access more content in a single day that someone a century ago might have encountered in a lifetime. But more information does not mean more truth. On the contrary, it often becomes harder to filter the real from the fake. Satan is an expert of deception and transforming the lie into a visual delight or into a pleasing sound. He knows that people are being led by their flesh and their senses, so vision, sound, smell, touch, taste, and emotion. This can so easily blur the truth or distract from the obvious lie. And let's be honest, it's so easy to fall for a lie these days. People like what is pleasing to the eye, what sounds good, what looks good, and what makes us feel good. All this can easily blur the vision and lead us astray. Historically, deception has led to large-scale tragedies, from political propaganda, cold manipulation, corporate fraud, to fake news. The consequences of being deceived can be devastating. In the age of AI, deepfakes, fake news, political and media propaganda, social media brainwashing, and carefully crafted algorithm, deception has taken on a new forms and scales. Political polarization and ideological warfare mean that people are often deceived not because they lack intelligence, but because they are not critically engaged. To add to this, chaos and constant distractions mean we constantly jump between views, opinions, and ideas. Whether in a form of false teachings, manipulation, propaganda, or misinformation, deception thrives where there is ignorance, complacency, or uncritical acceptance. The danger lies not just in being misled, but in acting upon falsehoods as if they were truths, potentially causing harm to oneself and others. That's the power of deception. It does not ask for your permission. It exploits your trust and convinces you to surrender your judgment. One of the oldest tricks of Satan is to make someone believe they lack something and therefore they need to acquire it. Notice when Satan said to Eve, "You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. Genesis 3, verse 4 to 6. Eve took the fruit as it was desirable to make one wise, without realizing she was made in the image of God and she was already wise. Satan's tactic is to question and to repeat, "Are you sure?" The simple question planted in someone's head can lead to many doubts, and we only need a small seed to grow a plant. Once doubt is planted, this leads to confusion, to double-mindedness, and eventually to losing faith. We have to equip ourselves to know how to recognize truth as much as how to recognize a lie, because many truths will be overlooked and mistaken as a lie. One of the main problems with not being able to recognize truth is expectation. Expectation that events should play out in a specific way, expectation that people should look a certain way, and expectation that all prophecies will happen with a bang. In reality, God is completing some prophecies in the background, in a quiet manner, and that is why we are called to be alert and of sober mind. When you form a strong expectation, you will miss true events, and Satan knows it. That is why TV, media, and Hollywood has been shaping our views and expectations for decades. Entertainment is one of the weapons of the enemy, bypassing conscious mind to access subconscious mind that in reality makes all the decisions. There are various techniques that can help to calm the analytical conscious mind and to communicate and influence the more emotionally driven subconscious. One of those techniques is by repetition, deep relaxation, emotional events, and vivid imagery to introduce new ideas and reshape deeply ingrained beliefs. This is done usually during watching movies. Our mind goes into a calm state and our analytical barriers go down. Ideas are being introduced, yet we know this is just a movie. And when the same event happens in real life, people are not surprised or shocked because they've seen it before. I am sure you can look back at some movies where they were introducing unimaginable things to us that now take place, but back then we wouldn't think this to be true. Media and news also play a major role as a tool of deception. We trust them to bring us facts. We trust that there is objectivity and we wouldn't be deceived by the event presented to us. Unfortunately, this is not the case. All news and media are carefully selected to shape our views or our emotional responses. What words are being used, what images, what emotions pushed out on us, all is carefully designed. The more something is repeated to us, the more we believe. This is the rule of repetition, where our subconscious mind accepts repeated thoughts and actions as facts, which can be used to reprogram your brain and form new habits, beliefs, and behaviors. Remember that the enemy knows human psyche very well, and he uses that against us along with our 5 senses to condition people into his agendas.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about trouble and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish fake stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Deception leads to chaos, and chaos is a state of utter confusion and disorder, a total lack of organization. It can describe a confused mass of things or a condition where chance is supreme, as in the unpredictability of complex systems. The enemy will create many different perspectives, different rabbit holes, and different angles that can lead to something or nothing. This overwhelming state of possibilities and options leads to confusion and eventually accepting the narrative that contradicts with the truth. If all options sounds possible, then it doesn't feel as a failure if the choice is not the truth. Chaos is often being created in bigger crimes by creating many suspects, many evidence and many alibis to confuse the case. Chaos is also used in politics. By creating chaos in society, there is a big need for order and resolution. I am sure you have heard this phrase, order out of chaos. Order out of chaos is the motto of Freemasonry, represented by a Latin phrase, ordo ab chaos. It symbolizes the Masonic belief that order, knowledge and understanding can be achieved from a state of ignorance, darkness or confusion. To achieve order, we first need chaos and often people's desperation with emotional underlying. And this takes us to the next weapon, which is emotion. Emotion plays a big part in human psyche. It's through emotion many decisions are being made. Emotions have many layers and are stored in our subconscious mind that is a library of stored experiences, events and beliefs. Our emotions depend on many factors like our childhood or environmental background. This emotional underlying refers to the feelings that are not immediately apparent or expressed, which can influence behavior and be more fundamental than a surface-level emotion. For example, anger can be an underlying emotion that masks feeling of fear, hurt, or a sense of injustice. An enemy knows that various events can trigger various emotions, which can lead to manipulation. Wars, injustice, hunger, murder, all invoke strong emotions in us. Those events are outside of our control and we as people feel helpless in those situations. Because what a mere human can do to stop the war or to feed the hungry nation? And this is where deception in politics comes in. Orchestrating events, propaganda, fake information leaking, distraction, artificial protests and manipulation. All of this is like a cocktail of lies, sprinkled with emotion. The uncomfortable truth is that a lot what is happening in the world is fake and orchestrated because the world is a stage for those politicians. Think of it as in the movie Truman Show, where things can look ordinary but in fact are created for hidden agendas. With that being said, recent events in America with Charlie Kirk unaliving has drawn a lot of attention and caused a lot of emotions in people. I wouldn't want to go into details of why and how, as this has been processed and presented by many people. However, I wanted to draw attention to the fact that this is an example of a big deception. The enemy is using emotional event and human emotion, confusing people with a lot of possible angles and perceptions, and deceiving people by underlying agenda that is pushed out to the public. And people are accepting it unknowingly. It is so sad to see many people being deceived and not seeing why. It is clear that this event was carefully planned and orchestrated along with the aftermath of it, the investigation or the lack of it. Charlie Kirk's wife's reaction and the big memorial created after was just a first step to implement hidden agenda. And many people thought God was involved because people prayed, proclaimed the name of the Lord, and it triggered a lot of emotional responses due to Erica's forgiveness to the killer. I would like to remind you, this is not of God, regardless if people prayed, proclaimed the name of the Lord and held Bibles in their hands. This whole event was a clear example of the gate being wide that leads to destruction. This is clearly agenda in the making, an opportunity to bring church and state together and to be able to enforce laws on people with religious and political agendas. Through emotion and desperation, here comes a hero who will fix this and will take us back to church. Through trust and using godly terms, people will accept new laws, new systems, and new propaganda without noticing anything suspicious about it. People are tired because of injustice. Nothing worked so far, so people are open to new resolutions. But this is like looking for resolution in the same place where chaos has been created. You can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. The answer to all this deception is discernment. This involves more than skepticism. It involves disciplined pursuit of truth. Discernment requires us to check sources, seek evidence, understand context, and examine motives. It also means developing self-awareness, because sometimes we deceive ourselves by accepting what is comfortable instead of what is true. That is why it's so important to question everything, even what we think we already know. Become like those little children, go back to the basics and learn to learn again. Think that religious systems are not your friend, that what is mainstream is not of God. Think that truth is always buried, rejected, and destroyed, and that Satan is ruling on this earth. Therefore, you can't expect that he will allow the truth to be accepted. He will create a counterfeit to that truth, send many perspectives to confuse people, and what is being done behind the scenes is usually what you need to pay attention to. And in the same way the enemy is seeking to brainwash people through media, we can also brainwash ourselves with the Word of God. Through repetition, the Word of God will be ingrained in our minds, and no lie will be able to deceive us. Search for the truth and know the Word for yourself, to be sure that no one and nothing can deceive you.